The emergency doors burst open at Valley View Veterans Hospital on a cold November morning. Sarah Chen stood at the nurse's station, her brand new scrub still crisp and clean. It was only her third day on the job, and she was already doubting herself. "New girl, coffee now," barked Donna, the head nurse. The older woman barely looked up from her paperwork. Sarah had learned quickly that Donna ran the ward like a drill sergeant, and she had no patience for rookies. "Yes, ma'am," Sarah said quietly, heading toward the break room. Behind her, she heard Donna talking to another nurse. "I don't know why they keep hearing these kids fresh out of school. This job takes real backbone. That little thing won't last a week." Sarah's hands trembled as she poured the coffee. She had worked so hard to get here. 4 years of nursing school while working nights at a diner. Endless studying, top of her class, but none of that seemed to matter now. The ambulance arrived 20 minutes later. Everyone rushed to the emergency entrance. Sarah followed, trying to stay out of the way. The paramedics wheeled in a stretcher carrying a man who looked like he had been through hell itself. His face was covered in cuts and bruises. His right arm was bandaged heavily. But what struck Sarah most were his eyes. They were open, staring at the ceiling, but they looked completely empty. "John Reeves, 32 years old," the paramedic rattled off. "Navy SEAL. Injured in classified operation overseas. Multiple wounds, possible internal injuries. But here's the problem, he won't let anyone touch him. He's been like this for 8 hours. Won't speak, won't cooperate. We had to sedate him just to get him on the plane home." Dr. Morrison stepped forward, his face grave. "Let's get him to room 12. We need to run tests immediately." They moved the stretcher down the hallway. Sarah watched as 3 nurses and 2 doctors tried to examine the patient. But the moment anyone got close, John Reeves would push them away with his good arm. His movements were weak but determined. His jaw was clenched tight, and his eyes remained fixed on some distant point that only he could see. "Mr. Reeves, we're trying to help you," Dr. Morrison said firmly. "You need medical attention." No response. "Son, you're in a safe place now. You're home, let us help you." Nothing. This went on for an hour. Sarah stood in the doorway, watching. Something about this man broke her heart. She had seen trauma before during her training, but this was different. This wasn't just physical pain. This was a soul that had been shattered. Donna pushed past her. "Move it, new girl. Go clean the supply closet or something. You're just in the way here." Sarah nodded and turned to leave. But as she did, she noticed something. On the patient's neck, barely visible beneath his hospital gown, was a tattoo. It was small and partially hidden, but Sarah recognized it immediately. Her breath caught in her throat. She had seen that exact symbol before. Her brother David had the same one. David had been a Navy SEAL. He had died 3 years ago during a training accident. Sarah had become a nurse because of him, because she wanted to help others the way she wished someone could have helped her brother. That symbol was the insignia of David's unit, SEAL Team 5. Her heart pounded. She knew she should walk away. She was just a rookie. Nobody here respected her, but something pulled her back to that room. She stood in the doorway again, watching as the medical team grew more frustrated. John Reeves had now closed his eyes completely. He was shutting down, shutting everyone out. "We might have to restrain him," Dr. Morrison said reluctantly. "I don't want to, but if he won't let us treat him." "Wait," Sarah heard herself say. Her voice was quiet, but something in her tone made everyone turn. Donna rolled her eyes. "What now?" Sarah's hands were shaking, but she stepped forward anyway. "Let me try, please. Just give me 5 minutes with him." Dr. Morrison frowned. "Miss Chen, this is a highly trained special operations soldier suffering from severe trauma. I don't think." "5 minutes," Sarah repeated. She surprised herself with her own firmness. "What do you have to lose? Nothing else is working." The doctor and Donna exchanged glances. Finally, Dr. Morrison shrugged. "Fine, 5 minutes, but I'm staying right outside." Everyone filed out of the room. Sarah could hear Donna muttering, "This is ridiculous. That girl has no idea what she's doing." Maybe she was right. Maybe Sarah had no idea, but she had to try. She approached the bed slowly. John Reeves didn't move. His eyes stayed closed, his body tense like a coiled spring. Sarah took a deep breath. Then, in a clear, steady voice, she spoke 3 words. 3 words her brother had taught her years ago. 3 words that she had never forgotten. Trident never dies. The effect was instant. John's eyes snapped open. He turned his head and looked directly at Sarah for the first time, really looked at her. And for just a moment, the emptiness in his eyes flickered with something else. Recognition. The room fell silent except for the steady beep of the heart monitor. John Reeves stared at Sarah with an intensity that would have frightened most people, but Sarah held his gaze. She had learned from her brother that SEALs responded to strength, not fear. "How do you know that?" John's voice was rough, like gravel scraping against stone. They were the first words he had spoken since arriving at the hospital. Sarah pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down carefully. "My brother was SEAL Team 5, David Chen. He died 3 years ago." Something shifted in John's expression. His jaw unclenched slightly. "I knew David, good man, best damn swimmer in the unit." He paused and pain flashed across his face. "I'm sorry." "Thank you," Sarah said softly. "He taught me a lot before he died, including that phrase. He said it was something the team said to each other. A reminder that the bond between SEALs never dies, even when they do." John closed his eyes again, but this time it was different. He wasn't shutting her out. He was processing, remembering. "David talked about you," John said after a moment. "His little sister who wanted to be a nurse. He was proud of you." Tears stung Sarah's eyes, but she blinked them back. "Mr. Reeves." "John, just John." "John, the doctors need to examine you. You have injuries that could get worse if they're not treated. Will you let them help you?" "No," the word was flat and final. Sarah leaned forward. "Why not?" John opened his eyes again. The emptiness was still there, but now Sarah could see what lay beneath it. Rage, guilt, grief. A storm of emotions he was desperately trying to contain. "Because I don't deserve help," he said quietly. "I don't deserve to be here while they're still over there. While Tommy is." His voice cracked and he stopped. Sarah understood immediately. Survivor's guilt. She had seen it in David too, after missions that went wrong, after teammates were lost. "What happened?" she asked gently. For a long moment John said nothing. Then slowly the words began to come, like a dam breaking piece by piece. "We were on a rescue operation, hostages held by insurgents in a compound near the border. Intel said there were 6 hostiles. We went in at night, but the intel was wrong. There were 20 of them. They were waiting for us." His good hand clenched into a fist on the bedsheet. "We fought our way to the hostages, got them out. But Tommy Rodriguez, my swim buddy for 5 years, he took a hit covering my 6. I should have seen that shooter. I should have been faster, but I wasn't, and Tommy paid the price." "Is he?" "He's alive, barely. They flew him to Germany, critical condition. Last I heard he was still in surgery." John's voice was hollow. "I walked away with cuts and bruises. Tommy might never walk again. How is that fair?" Sarah sat back in her chair. She remembered her brother coming home once after a teammate had been injured. David had locked himself in his room for 2 days, refusing to eat or talk to anyone. Their mother had been frantic, but Sarah had understood even then. Warriors carried different wounds than other people. Some wounds didn't show up on X-rays. "John, look at me," she said firmly. "He did. David told me something once. He said that the worst thing a SEAL can do is waste the sacrifice his brothers made for him. When someone saves your life, you honor them by living it, by healing, by getting strong enough to fight another day. You don't honor them by destroying yourself." John's eyes glistened. "Easy to say." I know, but it's true. Sarah stood up. I'm going to ask you one more time. Will you let the doctors help you, for Tommy, so that when he wakes up you can tell him you both made it through, that you both survived? The silence stretched between them like a tightrope. Sarah held her breath. Finally, John gave the smallest nod. Okay, but only if you stay. I can't handle everyone else right now. Their pity, their stares. I'll stay, Sarah promised. I'll be right here. She opened the door. Dr. Morrison and the other nurses were waiting in the hallway. Donna looked skeptical, arms crossed over her chest. He's ready, Sarah said, but he wants me to assist, no one else. Donna laughed harshly. You barely know how to take blood pressure. This patient needs experienced. I'll supervise, Dr. Morrison interrupted. He looked at Sarah with new respect in his eyes. Whatever you did in there, it worked. Let's not mess it up now. Miss Chen, scrub in. For the next 3 hours, Sarah worked alongside Dr. Morrison. She cleaned wounds, changed bandages, assisted with x-rays and blood draws. The whole time, John kept his eyes on her. Whenever he started to tense up, she would speak quietly to him. She told him about David, about growing up with a brother who was her hero. She talked about nursing school, about why she had chosen this path. And slowly, John began to relax. He even managed a small smile when Sarah told him about the time David had tried to teach her to swim like a seal, and she had nearly drowned in their community pool. When they finally finished, Dr. Morrison pulled Sarah aside in the hallway. That was remarkable work in there, Miss Chen. You have a real gift for connecting with trauma patients. Before Sarah could respond, Donna appeared. Her face was red with anger. Don't let it go to your head, new girl, she snapped. You got lucky, that's all. One good day doesn't make you a real nurse. You've still got a lot to learn, and I'm going to make sure you learn it the hard way. She stormed off, leaving Sarah standing in the hallway, the brief moment of pride deflating like a punctured balloon. Dr. Morrison patted Sarah's shoulder. Don't mind her. Donna's been here 20 years. She's forgotten what it's like to be new. You did good today. But as Sarah walked back to check on John, she couldn't shake the feeling that Donna was going to make her life very difficult. She had no idea just how right she was. The next 2 weeks were the hardest of Sarah's life. She had thought nursing school was difficult, but that was nothing compared to working under Donna's constant scrutiny. Every small mistake was magnified. Every success was dismissed. When Sarah managed to calm a difficult patient, Donna said she was wasting time on hand-holding instead of real nursing. When Sarah followed protocol exactly, Donna accused her of being too rigid and lacking intuition. The other nurses noticed but said nothing. Donna had been at Valley View Veterans Hospital longer than anyone else. She had the director's ear. Nobody wanted to cross her. But Sarah kept coming back. Every day she put on her scrubs and walked through those doors, because of John. John Reeves was getting better, physically at least. His wounds were healing. His arm was regaining strength. But emotionally, he was still fighting a war that nobody else could see. Sarah spent every spare moment with him. She wasn't officially assigned to his care. Donna made sure of that. But Sarah would visit during her breaks, before her shifts, after her shifts. They talked about David, about the SEALs, about the weight of loss and survival. John had learned that Tommy was out of surgery and stable, which lifted some of the darkness. But he still struggled with nightmares. Sarah would sometimes hear him crying out in the middle of the night, reliving the firefight that had nearly killed them both. 3 weeks after John's arrival, Sarah was working a double shift. She was exhausted, running on coffee and willpower. It was 2 in the morning and the ward was quiet. She was restocking supplies when she heard raised voices from John's room. Sarah rushed down the hallway and found Donna standing over John's bed. John was sitting up, his face pale and covered in sweat. He had been having another nightmare. I don't care what you think you need, Donna was saying harshly. It's 2 in the morning. The pain medication is on a schedule. You'll get your next dose at 6 like everyone else." "I'm not asking for pain meds," John said through gritted teeth. "I just need someone to talk to. The nightmares." "Oh, for heaven's sake. You're a grown man, not a child afraid of the dark. Deal with it." Sarah stepped into the room. "Donna, I can stay with him." Donna whirled around. You're supposed to be restocking the supply closet. That's your job tonight. Or are you incapable of following simple instructions?" "The supply closet can wait 15 minutes." "No, it can't." Donna's eyes flashed with anger. "You think you're special because you got this one patient to cooperate. You think that makes you some kind of hero. Let me tell you something, new girl. This is a hospital, not a therapy center. We treat medical conditions, not feelings. If you can't handle that, maybe you should find a different profession." Sarah felt her face burning, but she stood her ground. Treating the whole patient, including their mental health, is part of nursing. That's what they taught us in school. Donna laughed bitterly. "School? You think school prepared you for this? I've been doing this job since before you were born. I've seen 1,000 rookies like you come through here, all full of big ideas and compassion. And you know what happens to most of them? They burn out and quit. Because real nursing is hard, unglamorous work. It's not about holding hands and having heart-to-heart chats." "That's enough," John said suddenly. His voice was quiet but carried an edge of command that made both women turn toward him. "Miss Chen has been the only person in this hospital who's treated me like a human being instead of a problem to be solved. She's twice the nurse you'll ever be, and if you can't see that, then you're the one who needs to find a different profession." Donna's face turned purple. "How dare you?" "I dare because it's the truth." John's eyes were hard as steel. "Now get out of my room. If I need nursing care, I'll ask for Sarah. Otherwise, leave me alone." For a moment, Sarah thought Donna might explode. Instead, she turned on her heel and marched out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Sarah sank into the chair beside John's bed. Her hands were shaking. "I'm going to lose my job over this." "No, you're not," John said firmly. "I'll make sure of it." But Sarah knew better. Donna had power here. Donna had connections, and Sarah had just made a very dangerous enemy. The next morning, Sarah was called into the director's office. Director Patricia Hoffman was a stern woman in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a tight bun. She gestured for Sarah to sit down. "Miss Chen, I've received a complaint from Nurse Donna about your conduct last night." Sarah's heart sank. "Director Hoffman, I can explain." "She says you were insubordinate, that you refused to follow instructions, and that you encouraged a patient to be disrespectful to senior staff." "That's not what happened." Sarah fought to keep her voice steady. "John, Mr. Reeves, was having a nightmare. He needed support. Donna refused to provide it and was dismissive of his psychological needs. I simply offered to stay with him." Director Hoffman tapped her pen on the desk. "Donna has been with this hospital for 22 years. She's one of our most experienced nurses. You've been here less than a month. Why should I take your word over hers?" Sarah felt tears threatening, but she forced them back. "Because it's the truth. And because if you ask Mr. Reeves, he'll tell you exactly what happened. I'm not going to interrogate a patient about staff disputes." "Then ask Dr. Morrison. Ask the other nurses. Ask anyone who's seen how Donna treats new staff members. I'm not the first person she's done this to, am I?" Director Hoffman's expression shifted slightly. That had struck a nerve. "No," she admitted quietly. "You're not. Donna can be difficult, but she's also highly skilled and dedicated to her work." "So am I," Sarah said, leaning forward. "I know I'm new. I know I have a lot to learn. But I'm here because I care about these patients. These veterans gave everything for our country. The least we can do is treat them with dignity and compassion. All of them. Not just their physical wounds, but their emotional ones too." Director Hoffman studied her for a long moment. Then she sighed. "I'm going to be honest with you, Miss Chen. Donna wants you fired. She's demanding it, actually. and she has enough influence here that I'm under pressure to make that happen." Sarah felt the world tilting beneath her. "Please, Director Hoffman, this job, it's everything to me. My brother died serving this country. Working with veterans is how I honor his memory. Don't take that away from me." "I'm not finished." Director Hoffman held up a hand. "However, I also received a call this morning from Mr. Reeves' commanding officer. Apparently, John called him last night and told him what happened. The officer was very impressed with your care. He asked specifically that you continue to be involved in John's treatment." Hope flickered in Sarah's chest. "So here's what's going to happen," Director Hoffman continued. "You're not fired, but you're being reassigned. You'll work exclusively with John Reeves and other SEAL team members when they come through our facility. It's a new pilot program we've been considering, specialized care for special operations veterans. You'll report directly to Dr. Morrison, not to Donna." Sarah could hardly believe what she was hearing. Thank you so much." "Don't thank me yet. This program has to prove itself. If it doesn't work, if there are any problems, it gets shut down and you're back under Donna's supervision. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am, I won't let you down." As Sarah left the office, she saw Donna waiting in the hallway. The older nurse's expression was pure venom. "Enjoy it while it lasts, little girl," Donna hissed. "You think you've won, but this isn't over, not by a long shot." Sarah walked past her without responding. She had learned from the SEALs that sometimes the best response to a threat was silence and steady resolve. But deep down, she knew Donna was right about one thing: this wasn't over. 2 months passed. Sarah's new role working with Special Operations veterans was more challenging and rewarding than anything she had imagined. John was finally being discharged, his physical wounds healed and his emotional ones beginning to mend. He had even started seeing a therapist, something he swore he would never do. On his last day, he stopped by the nurse's station to say goodbye to Sarah. "I owe you my life," he said simply. "If you hadn't spoken those words that first day, I don't know where I'd be right now. Probably dead, if I'm being honest." Sarah felt tears welling up. "You did the hard work, John. I just gave you a reason to start." "David would be proud of you." John pulled something from his pocket. It was a challenge coin, the kind SEALs gave to honor and remember. "This was his. Myco sent it over. He thought you should have it." Sarah took the coin with trembling hands. It was worn smooth from David carrying it on missions. She had never seen it before, never known it existed. "Thank you," she whispered. After John left, Sarah threw herself into her work with renewed purpose. More SEAL team members started coming through the hospital, and word spread about the nurse who understood them, who spoke their language, who could reach them when no one else could. But Donna's resentment grew with every success Sarah achieved. The older nurse found small ways to undermine her. Supplies would go missing. Schedules would be changed at the last minute. Other nurses were warned not to help Sarah with difficult tasks. Dr. Morrison noticed but felt powerless to stop it. "Donna has too many allies," he told Sarah privately. "Just keep your head down and do good work. That's the best defense." Then everything changed on a cold February morning. A new patient arrived. Master Chief Tom Bradley, a SEAL Team 5 legend who had served for 25 years. He was 60 years old, tough as nails and suffering from complications related to shrapnel wounds from a mission a decade earlier. He needed surgery, but the operation was risky. Sarah was assigned to his pre-op care. Tom was quiet, stoic, asking few questions, but Sarah noticed he seemed uneasy. Not about the surgery, SEALs didn't fear physical pain. Something else was bothering him. The night before his surgery, Sarah sat with him during her break. "Tom, is something wrong? Besides the obvious, I mean." He looked at her for a long moment, as if deciding whether to trust her. Finally, he spoke. "I knew your brother, David Chen, hell of a SEAL." Sarah's breath caught. "You did?" Yeah, I was his commanding officer for 2 years, best young operator I ever trained. Tom paused, his weathered face growing dark. His death, they told you it was a training accident, right? Yes, an equipment failure during a parachute jump. Tom shook his head slowly. That's what the official report says, but it's not the whole truth. Sarah's world tilted. What do you mean? David's parachute was sabotaged. We proved it during the investigation. Someone cut specific lines in a way that would only fail under certain conditions. It was meant to look like an accident, but it was murder. The room seemed to spin around Sarah. Who? Why? We never found out who, but we had a theory about why. Tom leaned forward, lowering his voice. David had discovered something. Medical fraud at a military hospital. Medications being stolen and sold. Records being falsified. Patients being given substandard care while someone pocketed the difference. David was going to report it. A week later, he was dead. Did you investigate? Did you tell anyone? Of course we did, but the investigation went nowhere. Whoever was behind it had powerful connections. The case was buried. We were ordered to drop it. Tom's hands clenched into fists. I've carried that guilt for 3 years. David was one of mine, and I couldn't get him justice. Sarah sat in stunned silence, her mind reeling. Everything she thought she knew about her brother's death was a lie. Why are you telling me this now? She finally managed to ask. Tom looked uncomfortable. Because I've been here 3 days and I've been watching, observing, and I'm seeing the same patterns David described. Medications not matching records, supplies disappearing, and one nurse in particular who seems to be at the center of it all. Donna, Sarah breathed. I don't have proof yet, but my instincts are screaming at me. After my surgery, I'm going to start digging. But I wanted you to know first. You deserve to know the truth about David. Sarah left Tom's room in a daze. She went through the motions of her shift on autopilot, her mind churning with this new information. David had been murdered. And if Tom was right, the person responsible might be working in this very hospital. Over the next week, while Tom recovered from his surgery, Sarah began paying closer attention. She started noticing things she had missed before: medication discrepancies, supplies that were ordered but never arrived, patient records that didn't quite match their treatment. And always, Donna was involved somehow. Sarah didn't want to believe it. Despite everything, she didn't want to think that a nurse, someone sworn to help people, could be capable of such evil. But the evidence kept mounting. She confided in Dr. Morrison, who was skeptical at first. But when Sarah showed him what she had found, his expression turned grave. If this is true, it's beyond hospital policy violations. This is criminal. We need to contact the authorities. Not yet, Tom said when they brought him in on the investigation. We need concrete proof. Otherwise, she'll just deny everything and cover her tracks. Let me work my contacts. I know people who can help. But they had waited too long. The next day, Sarah arrived for her shift to find her locker had been broken into. Her bag was missing. So was David's challenge coin. And when she got to the nurse's station, Donna was waiting with security guards and Director Hoffman. Sarah Chen, Donna said with a cold smile. You're under arrest for theft of controlled substances. The police are on their way. Sarah's world exploded. In her locker, security had found bottles of opioids, dozens of them, all stolen from the hospital pharmacy. Those aren't mine. Someone planted them. But no one was listening. The evidence was overwhelming. Her fingerprints were on the bottles. The theft logs showed the medications had gone missing during her shifts. As the police led her away in handcuffs, Sarah saw Donna watching with satisfaction. And in that moment, Sarah understood. Donna hadn't just been making her life difficult. She had been setting her up from the beginning, building a case, planting evidence, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy her. And Sarah had walked right into the trap. But what Donna didn't know was that Sarah had learned from the best. David had taught her that SEALs never give up. They adapt, they overcome, and they always complete the mission. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Part 5: Justice for the Fallen. Sarah spent the night in a holding cell, her mind racing. She had one phone call, and she used it to contact Dr. Morrison. He promised to help however he could, but even he sounded doubtful. The evidence against her was damning. The next morning, a lawyer arrived. But it wasn't a public defender. It was a sharp-eyed woman in an expensive suit who introduced herself as Margaret Ross. "I've been retained by Master Chief Tom Bradley to represent you," Margaret said. "He's convinced you're being framed, and after reviewing the preliminary evidence, I'm inclined to agree. But we need to move fast." "How?" Sarah asked desperately. "My fingerprints are on those bottles. The theft logs match my schedule. How do we fight that?" Margaret smiled grimly. "By proving that someone with access to the evidence locker and your personal belongings planted it. And I think I know who." Over the next 48 hours, things moved quickly. Tom Bradley had called in favors from his years of service. Naval Criminal Investigative Service agents arrived at the hospital. They began a thorough investigation, not just of the recent thefts, but of patterns going back years. What they found was stunning. Donna had been stealing medications for over a decade. She had built an elaborate system, falsifying records, manipulating inventory, and selling the drugs through a network of dealers. She had made hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that wasn't all. They also found evidence of patient neglect. Veterans who should have received pain medication were given placebos. Treatment records were falsified to cover up substandard care. Some patients had died as a result of her actions. And there was more. The investigators found communications between Donna and someone at the military base where David had been stationed. Someone who had helped her cover up her crimes in exchange for a cut of the profits. That same person had access to the equipment David used. The pieces fell into place. David had discovered Donna's scheme during a routine visit to Valley View after a training injury. He had started asking questions, looking into records. Donna had panicked and contacted her partner at the base. Together, they had arranged David's accident. When confronted with the evidence, Donna's partner broke down and confessed everything. The case against Donna became airtight. Sarah was released immediately, all charges dropped, but she felt numb. The truth about David's death was finally out, but it brought no comfort, only pain. She returned to the hospital 3 days later. Director Hoffman met her at the entrance. "Miss Chen, I owe you an apology, a profound one. I should have listened to you. I should have investigated the complaints about Donna years ago." The director's voice shook with emotion. "Because of my failure to act, good people died, including your brother." Sarah nodded slowly. "What happens now?" "Donna is in federal custody. She'll be facing multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit murder. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison." Director Hoffman paused. "As for the hospital, we're implementing new oversight protocols, and I'd like you to head up our new veteran care program, not as a pilot but as a permanent position. You'll have full authority, a staff of your choosing, and the resources you need to provide the best care possible." It should have felt like a victory. Instead, Sarah just felt tired. She went to David's grave that evening. It was a small military cemetery outside of town, quiet and peaceful. She sat on the cold ground beside his headstone and held the challenge coin Tom had given her. "I got them, David," she whispered. "I got the people who killed you, but it doesn't bring you back. It doesn't make the pain go away." "No, it doesn't." Sarah turned to find John Reeves standing a few feet away. She hadn't heard him approach, typical SEAL. He walked over and sat down beside her. "Tom called me," John said. "Told me everything. I came as soon as I heard." They sat in silence for a while, two people who understood loss in ways most people never would. David saved my life once, John finally said. Did you know that? It was during a mission in Afghanistan. I got separated from the team, pinned down by enemy fire. David came back for me, took a bullet in the shoulder doing it. When I asked him why he risked his life for me, he said it was because that's what brothers do. They don't leave each other behind. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. He didn't just mean SEAL brothers, John continued. He meant all of us. Anyone who's willing to stand up and fight for what's right, to protect the people who can't protect themselves. That includes you, Sarah. You're part of that brotherhood too. You proved it by not giving up, by fighting for the truth even when everyone told you to quit. I'm just a nurse. No, you're a warrior. Different uniform, different battlefield, but same heart. John stood and offered her his hand. David would be proud of you, and he'd want you to keep fighting. There are more veterans who need someone like you, someone who understands, someone who won't give up on them. Sarah took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. She looked at her brother's headstone one more time, then at the challenge coin in her palm. Trident never dies. You're right, she said quietly. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. 3 months later, Sarah stood in front of a room full of nurses. The new Veteran Psychological Care Program was officially launching, and she had been asked to speak at the opening ceremony. She looked out at the faces. Young nurses, old nurses, doctors, therapists, all people who had chosen to dedicate their lives to helping others. My brother taught me that real strength isn't about never falling down, Sarah said. It's about getting back up, no matter how many times you're knocked down. It's about fighting for what's right even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. She held up David's challenge coin. Every veteran who walks through our doors is carrying wounds we can't always see. Trauma, guilt, loss, pain. Our job isn't just to treat their bodies. It's to see them as whole people, to honor their service by giving them the dignity and care they deserve, to never give up on them even when they've given up on themselves. In the back row, she saw Tom Bradley standing with several other SEALs from Team 5. John was there too, along with Tommy Rodriguez, who had made a remarkable recovery and could now walk with a cane.